Greetings, God bless, what's up? I'm Reverend Kevin Kosh Jr., campus pastor and Wesley Foundation director for the I Love Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. On today's Color of the Conversation, we're focusing on the Mississippi state flag controversy. Micah 6:8 tells us to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. However, if we're going to do justice, we need to understand justice. So before we move forward in our conversation, there are 4 types of justice which we should be made aware of. Number 1, distributive justice. Who gets what, and is it fair? Number 2, procedural justice. Are the rules fair and equitable, which help us establish and decide who gets what and how? Number 3, reputative justice. After a crime has been committed, are the punishments fair and fitting for said crime or grievance? And number 4, restorative justice. After a crime, a grievance, or injustice has taken place, are there things to be set in motion which help us reconcile those said grievances? The color of and design of the Mississippi state flag was said to represent her history and heritage. However, when you think about the history and the atrocity of racism in America, Mississippi is one of the first states that usually comes to mind. So where some herald her history, others are horrified, ashamed, and have even been held back because of it. Mississippi's civil rights leader put it this way: "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." Fannie Lou Hamer. On June 28, 2020, a bill was passed that relinquished the state flag from public buildings and constituted a commission for the design of a new flag. This most definitely was a day of victory in Mississippi's social justice. However, due to the prison reform issues the state was having or is having, due to the national outcry of the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and not to mention COVID-19 and the pandemic, that celebration was all too short-lived. I mean, just 50 years ago, JSU students were not allowed to graduate. Only COVID wasn't to blame. Racism was. On May 14th, 1970, city and state police officers confronted a group of students on campus, which resulted in 400 shots being fired into the female dormitory. 2 students were killed, several others injured. No charges were brought forth. This will be known as the Gibbs Green tragedy. June 12, 1963, Medgar Evers was shot in front of his home, all on account of blacks wanted the right to vote. Countless lynchings, crippling poverty, slavery. This is the history the Mississippi flag represents. Some choose to ignore it, and others can't deny it. How did I feel when the flag came tumbling down? I, like many others, celebrated. But I also knew that there are people who I work with, who I worship with, whom I conference with, who I even may call brother and sister, who don't share in that same joy. I found myself asking the question is this just symbolic? Or is the work of restorative justice something that we're going to commit to? Because history has shown us America has been more concerned with reforming its oppression to look more nice and humane rather than dismantle it. I ask myself, are we erasing this history so that we don't have to hold each other accountable? Are we trying to ease guilt on one side and just appease an agitated group on the other? I found myself saying, I don't want to shortchange the gospel of Jesus Christ. We are called to talk about prevenient grace and justifying grace, but we're also called to live into this idea of sanctifying grace, which calls us to a level of social holiness. We are charged to not just be in right relationship with God, but also our neighbor. I celebrate the flag coming down, and while my ancestors are somewhat happy, their legacy and my faith reminds me that freedom is a constant struggle, and there's still much work that needs to be done. I'm Reverend Kevin Kosh Jr., campus pastor for the I Love in Jackson, Mississippi at Jackson State University. And this is my topic: the flag, the controversy, the color of the conversation. Amen. Peace out.